It happened on a warm afternoon in the park, where a quiet girl in a wheelchair sat sketching beneath an old oak tree. Her loyal German shepherd, her only friend, her police-trained protector, rested peacefully beside her. Then came the rich kids, entitled, loud, cruel. And within minutes their arrogance turned into something far darker. They mocked her, surrounded her, and shoved her wheelchair. Worst of all, they kicked her dog. But destiny didn't let the story end there, because at that exact moment, an officer saw everything, and what happened next shocked every witness, changed one life forever, and exposed the truth behind why the boys targeted her in the first place. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The park was alive with the gentle hum of a perfect afternoon. Children laughing in the distance, joggers moving rhythmically along the trail, and sunlight filtering softly through towering trees. But under the wide shade of an old oak, a girl sat quietly in her wheelchair, completely absorbed in her sketchbook. Her name was Ava. At first glance, she looked like any other teenager. Brown hair tied back in a messy ponytail, soft eyes full of depth, and paint smudges across her fingers. But the wheelchair beneath her and the faint scars along her arms hinted at a past much heavier than her peaceful expression revealed. Beside her lay her German shepherd, Shadow, the one being who never left her side. His ears flicked at passing sounds, always alert, always protective, a badge on his collar showing he had once been trained as a police K-9. Now he belonged entirely to Ava, her guardian, her stability, her courage on 4 legs. Ava dipped her brush into a jar of water resting on a small portable table. She was sketching the lake, letting the reflections inspire her. For a girl whose world had been shattered months earlier, art was her only place where broken pieces still made sense. Shadow lifted his head and nudged her elbow gently. Ava laughed softly. "Don't worry," she whispered, brushing his fur. "I'm okay." It was the first time in weeks she had felt calm. No doctors, no therapy sessions, no stares from strangers, just the breeze, her sketchbook, and Shadow's steady breathing. A group of elderly couples walked by, smiling at her talent. A few families set down picnic blankets nearby. Everything felt safe, normal, almost like the accident had never happened. Almost. Ava took a deep breath and closed her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun settle on her skin. Shadow's tail thumped lazily against the grass. For a fleeting moment, the world was gentle again. But peace is fragile, and destiny, it seemed, was preparing a storm, because just beyond the hill, footsteps echoed, heavy, careless, full of arrogance. Laughter followed, sharp and mocking, the kind of laughter that never meant anything good. Ava didn't notice, but Shadow did. His ears shot up, his muscles tightened. A low growl rolled from his throat. Something, or rather someone, was coming, and it would change everything. Their voices reached the park before they did, loud, carefree, and dripping with the kind of confidence only money could buy. 3 boys crested the small hill, all dressed alike, designer shoes, expensive watches, and shirts that looked like they cost more than most people's monthly groceries. They walked like they owned the world. At the center of the trio was Ethan, the ringleader. Perfect hair, perfect jawline, perfect smirk, the kind that made teachers give him too many chances and made classmates quietly avoid him. His father owned half the buildings downtown, and Ethan never let anyone forget it. Beside him was Liam, taller, quieter, but always following Ethan's lead. He watched everything with calculating eyes, like he had something to prove. And lastly, Noah, the smallest but the most eager to impress. He laughed too loudly at Ethan's jokes, shoved people when Ethan told him to, and pretended he didn't see the fear he caused. They weren't just rich, they were bored, and boredom was dangerous in the hands of boys like them. Ethan kicked a stray soccer ball out of his path without slowing down. "Man, this park is dead," he scoffed, checking his reflection in his phone screen. "Nothing fun ever happens here." "Yeah," Noah chimed in. "This place is full of nobodies." Liam shrugged, but he didn't disagree. They scanned the park lazily, looking for something, anything, they could dominate. Their eyes passed over families, older couples, and joggers. Nothing interesting, nothing worth their time. Then Ethan's gaze landed on Ava beneath the oak tree. He slowed. A girl in a wheelchair, alone, quiet, easy. A smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Well," he drawled, "looks like today won't be boring after all." Liam followed his stare and raised an eyebrow. "Dude, come on. She's just drawing." Ethan's smirk widened. "Relax. We're only having a little fun." Shadow, still lying beside Ava, stiffened. His growl deepened, but the boys didn't notice, or didn't care. They started walking toward her, hands in pockets, steps slow and predatory, like lions who had just spotted an injured gazelle. Ava kept sketching, unaware of the storm approaching. Shadow, however, knew exactly what kind of danger was coming, and he was already preparing to defend her. Ava dipped her brush into the soft blue paint, gently sweeping color across her sketch pad. The world around her faded as she layered strokes of the lake's reflection. Her safe place, her calm. She didn't hear the footsteps approaching. She didn't see the shadows stretching across the grass toward her. But Shadow did. He pushed himself up, ears rigid, eyes locked on the three boys, closing in. His low, warning growl vibrated through the ground, but Ava thought he was reacting to a squirrel or passing dog. "Shadow, it's okay," she whispered, brushing his head lightly. It wasn't. Ethan stopped just a few feet away, hands tucked cockily into his pockets. "Wow," he said loudly. "Look at this. Art class on wheels." Ava froze. Her brush slipped from her fingers, landing silently in the grass. She turned slowly, her heart pounding as she saw them towering above her. Ethan's smirk widened at her startled expression. Liam folded his arms, eyeing her sketchbook. "She's actually pretty good," he muttered, almost like he didn't want anyone to hear him. Ethan shot him a glare. Compliments were not allowed. Noah leaned closer, tapping Ava's wheelchair lightly with his foot. "Hey, did we interrupt something?" he asked mockingly. Ava swallowed hard. I'm just drawing." "Drawing?" Ethan snorted. "Out here, alone? What, no friends?" His tone made it clear the question wasn't really a question. Shadow stepped forward, placing himself between Ava and the boys. His growl grew louder, deeper, his teeth just barely visible. His tail was low, his stance solid, ready. The badge on his collar glinted in the sunlight, but the boys laughed. "Oh, please," Ethan sneered. "It's just a dog." Ava's voice trembled. "Please, leave us alone." Ethan crouched slightly, tilting his head as if examining a fascinating new target. "Relax," he murmured. "We're just talking, right?" Liam hesitated, glancing between Ava and Ethan. Something flickered across his face, uncertainty, maybe even guilt. But he stayed silent. Ava tried to back her wheelchair away, but the grass was thick, the ground uneven. The wheels barely moved. Shadow barked once, sharp, fierce, a clear warning. Ethan's eyes narrowed, and in that moment the boy's amusement shifted into something darker, something dangerous. Ava felt the world tighten around her. The storm had arrived. Ava's hands trembled as she tried once more to move her wheelchair, but the grass resisted her. The wheels spun without gaining an inch. Ethan watched her struggle with a twisted grin, the kind that revealed exactly how much he enjoyed her fear. "Having trouble?" he asked, stepping closer. Shadow growled louder, placing himself fully between her and the boys, hackles raised. "Back off," Ava whispered, her voice barely audible. Ethan ignored her. With a casual motion, he reached down and grabbed her sketchbook right from her lap. "Hey!" Ava gasped, reaching for it, but he lifted it out of her reach with infuriating ease. Noah burst into laughter. "Look at this. Flowers? Lakes? Seriously? What are you, 5?" Ava felt her stomach twist. Her drawings were the one place she was still whole. Seeing them in his hands, tainted by mockery, felt like being exposed, raw, and powerless. Liam hovered behind them, rubbing the back of his neck. "Guys, seriously, just give it back." Ethan shot him another glare. "Relax, we're teaching her a lesson." Then, in one sudden motion, Ethan tore a page from her sketchbook. Ava flinched as the paper ripped. Her heart dropped. He crumpled the drawing and tossed it to the ground. "Oops," he said with a shrug. "Guess art just isn't your thing." Ava's eyes burned with tears. She tried desperately to hold back. Shadow barked, loud, sharp, furious. He lunged slightly forward, forcing Ethan to take one stunned step back. "Whoa!" Noah shouted. "Control your mutt!" "He's just protecting me," Ava cried. Ethan's expression hardened. The playful cruelty disappeared, replaced with something colder. "You think you can hide behind a dog?" he sneered. Before Ava could respond, Noah suddenly grabbed the handles of her wheelchair and shoved it forward. Ava jolted, her body slamming against the armrest. Her paint jars toppled, splashing color across the grass. "Stop!" she screamed. Shadow barked wildly, circling her, frantic and protective. But Ethan wasn't finished. He bent down, snatched her pencil case, and dumped its contents onto the ground. Pencils, brushes, and charcoal sticks scattered like shattered pieces of her safety. Ava's chest tightened. "Please," she whispered, voice cracking. "Please just stop." Liam stepped back, looking sick. "Ethan, this isn't right." But Ethan didn't listen. He stepped forward and planted his foot on her last intact drawing, pressing, grinding, destroying it with a cruel twist of his heel. Ava broke. Shadow snapped with a fierce bark, teeth bared, surging forward. And Ethan turned toward the dog with a dangerous look in his eyes. The line had been crossed, and what came next would change everything. Shadow launched forward with a powerful bark, positioning himself directly between Ava and Ethan. His stance was firm, protective, unyielding, every muscle ready to defend the girl he loved. His deep growl vibrated through the ground, a clear warning even a child could understand. But Ethan wasn't a child. He was worse. A teenager who believed consequences didn't apply to him. "Get back!" Ava cried, reaching for Shadow. "Please don't hurt him. He's trained. He's not dangerous." Ethan's lips curled. "Trained?" he mocked. "He's just a stupid dog." Shadow growled even louder, baring his teeth now, refusing to let Ethan come closer. Noah stumbled back, startled by the sudden intensity, but Ethan's pride was louder than his fear. He stepped toward Shadow and kicked dirt toward him. "Move, mutt!" Shadow didn't move. He growled deeper, louder. Ethan's eyes burned with embarrassment. How dare a dog stand up to him? Without warning, he snapped. Ethan swung his leg back and kicked Shadow hard across the ribs. Ava screamed. Shadow yelped. A sound so sharp, so heart-shattering that every bird in the trees seemed to stop singing. The impact knocked Shadow off balance. He stumbled sideways, gasping, tail tucked in pain as he tried to regain his footing. Ava felt her breath rip from her chest, her heart tearing like paper. "Stop!" she cried, sobbing as she reached out helplessly. "He didn't do anything. Please, please stop!" Noah froze. Even he hadn't expected Ethan to go that far. Liam's face went pale as he rushed forward. "Ethan, what the hell? You kicked a K9. Are you insane?" Shadow staggered back to his paws, shaking, but his eyes were still locked on Ethan with unwavering loyalty. Even injured, he refused to back away from Ava, but Ethan doubled down, driven by the fear of looking weak. "Stupid dog should have stayed out of it," he snapped, stepping forward again as if ready to kick him a second time. Shadow growled, but pain made his legs tremble. Ava's voice cracked into raw desperation. "Stop! He's my protector. He's trained. He's saved me more times than you'll ever know." But the boys didn't hear her. Or maybe they didn't care. A small crowd began to form, drawn by Ava's cries and the dog's painful yelps. People murmured, confused and horrified. Shadow stumbled again, his breathing uneven. Ava felt her whole world collapsing. Then, from behind the gathering crowd, a firm, commanding voice cut through the chaos. "Hey! Step away from her! Now!" Everything went silent. The crowd parted like a wave as a tall figure pushed through, broad shoulders, midnight blue uniform, and a gaze sharp enough to freeze anyone in their tracks. Officer Mark Hale, a veteran with 15 years on the force, moved with purpose. His hand rested firmly on his belt, but it was his expression, controlled fury, that made everyone step back. Ava gasped with relief the second she saw him. Shadow wobbled toward the officer, wincing but still trying to stand tall. Mark's eyes flicked from the injured dog to Ava's tear-streaked face, to Ethan, whose arrogant smirk had vanished. "What?" Mark said slowly, dangerously. "Is going on here?" Silence. Noah swallowed hard. Liam stared at the ground. Ethan shifted nervously, but tried to recover his confidence. "It was just a misunderstanding," he muttered. "The dog attacked us first." Shadow let out a low, wounded whine. Ava shook her head fiercely. "That's not true. They ripped my drawings. They shoved my wheelchair. He kicked Shadow." The crowd murmured in agreement. Several bystanders nodded vigorously. A mother near the front stepped forward. "Officer, I saw everything. The girl did nothing. The boys were tormenting her, and the dog was protecting her." Ethan's jaw tightened. His privilege had always protected him, until now. Mark crouched beside Shadow, gently brushing his fingers along the dog's ribs. Shadow winced. Mark's face darkened. "This dog," he said coldly, "is a retired police K9. He served this city with more honor than any of you understand." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ethan took a step back. Noah looked like he might faint. Mark stood slowly, too slowly. The air grew heavier with every inch he rose. He towered over the boys now, his presence a wall they couldn't push through. "You put your hands on a disabled girl," Mark said. "You damaged her medical service companion, and you caused bodily harm to a former police dog." His voice dropped to a chilling level. "Do you have any idea how serious this is?" Liam shook his head, guilt flooding his face. "Sir, I tried to stop them." Mark's eyes locked onto him. "Then you should have tried harder." Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but Mark held up a hand. "No excuses," he said sharply. "You three are coming with me, now." The boys froze, pale and shaking, because for the first time Their money couldn't save them. As Officer Mark escorted the three boys a few steps away from the crowd, their bravado crumbled like wet sand. Ethan's jaw clenched. Noah kept wiping his sweaty palms on his shirt, and Liam stood stiff, guilt tightening his shoulders. Mark crossed his arms. "Start talking." Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it again, his confidence slipping like water through his fingers. "I didn't mean for it to get that bad," he muttered. "That bad?" Mark repeated. "You targeted a disabled girl and kicked a police dog. I'd say it got far past bad. Why did you go after her?" No one answered, until Liam finally exhaled, cheeks burning. "Sir, it wasn't random." He glanced at Ethan. "You should tell him." Ethan shot him a lethal glare. "Shut up!" But Mark's voice sliced through the tension. "Son, you better start explaining before you dig yourself deeper." Ethan's facade broke for the first time. He ran a hand through his perfect hair, avoiding eye contact. "It's complicated. Try me." Ethan swallowed hard. "Ava used to go to our school, before the accident." Mark's eyes narrowed. The puzzle pieces began to shift. Liam continued softly. "She used to be the top art student, even won awards. Everyone loved her work." Noah kicked the dirt with his shoe. "And Ethan? He was supposed to win those awards. His dad wanted him to, but Ava kept beating him." Mark's gaze sharpened. "So this was jealousy?" Ethan's face flushed with humiliation. "It wasn't supposed to be jealousy. I don't know. After her accident, she disappeared from school, and everyone kept talking about how strong she was, how brave she was." His voice grew bitter. "My dad said she'd get pity attention, that people would feel sorry for her and praise her even more." Mark felt a cold anger stir. "So," Ethan whispered, voice cracking, "when we saw her here, I just lost it. I wanted to make her feel small for once. There it was, the twisted truth. Not hate, not cruelty for fun. A mix of jealousy, insecurity, pressure, and a boy so desperate to feel superior that he attacked the one person who already had enough pain." Liam shook his head, ashamed. "I told him to stop, officer. I swear, I didn't want to do any of it. I just didn't stand up to him." Mark stared at them, disappointment heavy in his eyes. "You boys have no idea what she's been through," he said quietly. "But you're about to learn." Because consequences were coming, and not even their privilege could stop them now. While Officer Mark confronted the boys, Ava sat beneath the oak tree with Shadow curled against her leg, trembling from the kick. Her hands stroked his fur, slow and shaky, trying to soothe him even though she herself was barely holding together. A woman from the crowd knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, are you okay? Do you want me to call your mom?" Ava shook her head softly. "My mom's at work. She can't leave." She swallowed. "I'm okay. I just hate when people stare." Her voice cracked at the last word. Shadow nuzzled closer, as if reminding her she wasn't alone. The woman nodded sympathetically. "You're very brave." Ava didn't feel brave. She felt small, fragile, and tired, so tired of always having to defend herself. Mark approached her slowly, kneeling down beside Shadow. His voice softened instantly. "Hey, Ava. Can you tell me how bad your dog is hurt?" She wiped her cheeks, embarrassed to be crying. "He's okay. He always tries to protect me, even when he shouldn't." Mark gently checked Shadow's ribs again. "He's tougher than he looks, but he's hurting." Ava nodded. "He always gets hurt because of me." Mark looked up sharply. "Don't you ever say that? Shadow protects you because he loves you. That's what good dogs do." Ava's eyes welled again. She hesitated. then whispered, "Can I tell you something?" "Of course." She took a shaky breath. "My wheelchair. The accident that put me in it. It happened when someone ran a red light. I was walking home with my old dog." Her fingers tightened in Shadow's fur. "My dog pushed me out of the way, and he didn't make it." Mark felt his chest tighten. Ava continued, "Shadow was my therapy dog after that, but he wasn't just therapy. He used to be a police K9. He knew when I was scared. He slept by my bed every night. He gave me courage to go outside again." Her voice softened to a whisper. "He saved my life. Twice." Mark swallowed hard. So this wasn't just a girl and her dog. This was a child who had lost everything, her mobility, her confidence, her first dog, and rebuilt her world around the one who remained. A world the boys had shattered in minutes. Mark stood, resolve hardening in his eyes. This time, someone would stand up for Ava, no matter what. Officer Mark stepped forward, his boots crunching over the scattered pencils, torn paper and trampled grass. The entire park had fallen into a tense silence. Parents held their children close. Joggers had stopped mid-stride. Every eye was locked on the confrontation unfolding before them. "Ethan Carter," Mark said firmly, "you're going to apologize. Not because your father is wealthy, not because these people are watching, but because what you did was cruel, cowardly, and unacceptable." Ethan's throat bobbed. He had never been spoken to like that. Not by teachers, not by coaches, not even by his own parents. Noah fidgeted nervously. Liam stared at the ground, shame written all over his face. Mark continued, "You bullied a disabled girl. You physically harmed a retired police K9, and you terrorized a child who has already suffered more than you ever will. This ends today." A ripple of approval moved through the crowd. Ava watched from a distance, Shadow's head resting on her lap. Her heart pounded, not from fear anymore, but from disbelief. Someone was finally standing up for her. Mark stepped closer to the boys. "You three aren't walking away from this. I'm filing a full incident report. There will be consequences, mandatory community service, behavioral review, and restitution for the damage you caused." Noah's jaw dropped. Liam nodded silently, accepting it. "But Ethan," his confidence cracked. "My dad, he won't let—" Mark cut him off sharply. "Your father doesn't control the law." The crowd murmured again, louder this time. Ethan's face flushed deep red. His eyes darted toward Ava, then away just as quickly. The weight of what he had done finally settled on his shoulders. Mark pointed toward her. "Now, you're going to walk over there and look her in the eyes." The boys hesitated. "Go," Mark commanded. Slowly, steps dragging, they approached Ava. Shadow growled weakly, and Noah instinctively backed up. Liam crouched first. His voice trembled. "Ava, I'm sorry. I should have stopped it. I didn't. I'm really, really sorry." Ava gave a tiny nod. Noah swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to hurt your dog. I was stupid. I'm sorry." Then Ethan stepped forward, the hardest moment of all. He exhaled shakily. "Ava, I was jealous, angry, wrong." His eyes glistened, not with tears, but with a hard truth finally facing daylight. "I hurt you, and I hurt your dog. I'm sorry." A hush fell. For the first time, the boys weren't rich. They weren't powerful. They were accountable. And the entire park witnessed justice. Ava sat quietly beneath the oak tree, Shadow leaning heavily against her leg, his body still trembling from pain, but his eyes soft with loyalty. The chaos of moments ago had faded into whispers as families slowly stepped back, giving her space. Officer Mark remained nearby, standing like a silent guardian between her and the world. Ethan, Liam, and Noah stood off to the side, pale and shaken, the weight of their actions sinking in deeper with every second. For once, they weren't being shielded by their parents, their money, or their reputation, only held accountable by truth, witnessed by everyone. Mark knelt beside Shadow once more, running gentle fingers along the dog's ribs. "He's hurting, but he'll be okay," Mark said softly. "You both will." Ava nodded, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I don't understand why people are so cruel," she whispered. Mark gave her a warm, steady look. "Sometimes people hurt others because they're hurting inside, but it's not your job to fix them. And it's never your fault." Ava blinked rapidly, wiping away tears with the back of her hand. Just then, a little girl from the crowd stepped forward timidly, holding a small bunch of flowers clutched in her fists. "These are for your dog," she whispered. Ava choked back a sob. "Thank you." Shadow gently pressed his nose to the flowers, tail thumping weakly. More people approached, parents, teenagers, elderly couples, offering words of support, apologies on behalf of the boys, or simply quiet smiles. The community Ava feared now surrounded her with protection she never expected. Mark cleared his throat. "Ava, I want to ask you something." She looked up. "You're strong, braver than you know. And Shadow, well, he's got the heart of a hero." He smiled. "How would you feel about helping us out at the station once a week? Not as a victim, as a helper." Ava's eyes widened. "Me? Why not?" Mark chuckled. "Art for the K-9 unit's walls, helping with therapy days, teaching younger kids. You'd be amazing." For the first time that day, Ava truly smiled. Shadow barked softly, as if approving. Behind them, Ethan silently wiped his eyes, guilt carving deep lines in his expression. Liam and Noah exchanged glances. This moment, this girl, this dog had changed something inside them forever. Ava lifted Shadow's head gently. "We're going to be okay," she whispered. The sun dipped low, casting warm, golden light across the park. A girl in a wheelchair, a wounded hero dog, and a community brought together by the courage of two hearts that refused to give up. It was an ending that no one who witnessed it would ever forget.